Most of y'all have your folders with you, that you got your registration folders. I want to start out with just a couple of things in that folder that I'd like for you to look at. And one of them is your National Priority Issues brochure that gives you the national priorities that were set by our board that we work on a regular basis. And I'm just going to give you a real quick report on some of those issues and where they stand. The other thing I want to do is draw your attention to this little brochure. And this is your contact information for your delegation in Washington and in the district or the state. The reason this is important, I anticipate that we're going to have some calls to action, some action alerts that are going to come up on some issues, and we're going to talk about them just in a second. You've got the information how you can call or email the Washington, D.C. office. You also have the information in there to call the district office or the state office that's here in Kentucky. Either contact type information will work fine. You can call the district office just as easy as if you were wanting to call their DC office. It makes the same impact. The key thing there is that we get action on the issues that we need action on. We got to get those calls. We have to have those contacts made to be able to have the input on these issues that we want. Now, with that being said, real quickly, because I know there's a lot of state issues that Jeff is wanting to go through and the team there, but just to go through some of the things that are going on the federal level. Number one, we've got some challenges. We've got some major challenges, and I'm going to talk about a couple of those, Joey, here in just a second, of some of the challenges that we're facing. But I'm really excited. I'm really excited about the opportunities that we've got this year to make a difference on a national level. Carrie, we've got some really exciting things that are going on. Matter of fact, one of the things, and I'll start out with right now, going on in Washington, D.C. is immigration reform. You heard President Haney talk about that he's going to be on a conference call in a few minutes to look at Chairman Goodlatte's bill, 4760, and what the Senate may be looking at there. It deals with the DACA program, the Deferred Action on Deferred Action on Childhood Arrivals is what it stands for. We've got to remember that. But DACA is driving a lot of the immigration debate. But with that, we think we have an opportunity to get some farm labor reform. And that's kind of exciting because I've been doing this for 13 years, and we've been talking about, Jeff, that we're going to have some type of farm labor reform for 13 years. And I know it was going on before that. And Scott, we may have an opportunity to get that debate out in front of everybody. So that one's going on right now. The House is whipping the vote right now, to see if they've got the 218 votes to move Chairman Goodlatte's bill forward in the House. And then the Senate is looking at bringing some of this information up as well. They're looking at the Goodlatte bill as the carrier there, but we also have some other bills that deal with H-2A reform that are being considered, John, in the Senate. So we've got some really exciting news that's going on for the first time in a long time. We got an opportunity to maybe be able to do something with farm labor. So that may be your first action alert that'll come out from this meeting that we'll need to get your input on to be able to weigh in on some of the issues because there are some things that we'd like to see modified in the bill that would be better for agriculture, but we think we've got that opportunity to be able to make some changes. So stay tuned on that one. The other one that you're hearing a lot about right now is Farm Bill. And we anticipate that within the next few days, within a week anyway, that we'll start seeing some of the titles brought out by the House Ag Committee Chairman, Mr. Conaway, that he will start bringing out titles one by one. Now, overall, when you look at the Farm Bill, when you think about what we're looking at in a new Farm Bill, we're probably not looking at major overhaul of the current Farm Bill. You are looking at some significant changes with some components of the Farm Bill. You heard Mr. Haney talk about it this morning. President Trump did say in his budget he'd like to cut subsidies on crop insurance by 33%. That's problematic. But you also had, same day, and Mr. Haney mentioned it, you had the Senate Ag Committee Chairman, Mr. Roberts, say, no, he promised us he wouldn't do that, and I'm going to hold him to that. So you're going to have a big effort there to hold the line on crop insurance, but crop insurance is going to be one of the big debates. Mr. Rowlett, the dairy program is another one that's going on right now. We're looking at some pretty major wholesale changes to the dairy title that was in there, just like there was major changes to the cotton title, which doesn't really affect us. But Joe, you all may have a few cotton acres down there before this is all over with. But Farm Bill will be the next one. They're really talking about ramping it up in March. So those of you that are going to be up there on congressional tour, expect a lot of action on a lot of issues while you're in town. Immigration, maybe. It may be done by the time we get there. But Farm Bill will be in full swing at that time. A couple of the other things that I'll just hit really quickly because, again, I don't want to take away from the talk with the General Assembly because it's going on right now. But you all saw President Trump's infrastructure spending package that he introduced the other day. And as we talked about it this morning, it also plays in with the Farm Bill component, broadband. Broadband's a part of that infrastructure spending. But again, looking out here at the river, looking at our bridges, our highways, our rails, that's a big part of the infrastructure spending. When you look at the price tag that President Trump put out there, Mr. Gieseke, $1.5 trillion, okay? It's a big, big number. It's a lot bigger number than I've ever seen, but, in a bank account. But you think about $1.5 trillion, a lot of money. But when you break that down as to what it is, the federal government is really talking about kicking in about $200 billion, still a big number, but they're wanting to incentivize state and local governments to be able, and private entities to be able to kick in funding to be able to build that infrastructure up. So it's more of a community activity to get everybody involved in that. A lot of changes being talked about. Where that's going to go, I'm not really sure, but again, stay tuned. We'll get you the action alerts and the information that you need to know what's going on there. Healthcare, they are looking at, there's a comment period open for a couple more weeks on association health plans. As you all know, that's one of our priority issues, is to have more access to association health plans. Would help broaden out the base for the cost, hopefully lower our cost and get us better coverage. So that one is being discussed right now in the agency to be able to try and have new rules pertaining to association health plans to help expand that out. A couple other quick things just to hit really quickly, and this is just some of the things that you're hearing a lot about. Trade, as Mr. Haney talked about this morning, is critically important to us. We are working very closely with not only the commissioner, but with USDA on trade programs, and there's a few glimmers of hope, Jerry, that when you look at what's going on nationally with trade right now, NAFTA, we haven't pulled out of NAFTA. That's a good thing because NAFTA has been good for agriculture. They are renegotiating NAFTA, and we're encouraged by the fact that they keep working on that, and we're hoping that they'll be able to get some things worked out on NAFTA soon. The other thing is that the door was opened a little bit by the administration to go back and talk about TPP. And if those of y'all that have been following TPP remember, TPP was about 47, almost half was agriculture. So that would really help American agriculture as well. So trade is starting to come back on the national scene for discussion. So that's something we're encouraged by. We will have somebody from USDA Trade at the congressional tour to talk about some of the trade issues that they're looking at with the FMD program, market access program. The other thing I'll mention, and then I'll leave and let the state guys come up. We're hearing a lot about, there's two issues that are out in right now. The CERCLA emissions reporting doesn't affect a whole lot of people, but it does affect a few of our cattle and pork and poultry producers. That one, we're working on that. There is a legislative fix that's been introduced to be able to exempt agriculture from those reporting requirements because even EPA says agriculture doesn't need to be reporting in that. So we're hopeful that that'll move forward. The other one that you're hearing a lot about, and I got cornered 2 or 3 times walking across the back of the room a while ago, is the electronic logging devices for transport of livestock. We do have Deputy Secretary Kathy Goutreau, who will be there from the Department of Transportation at congressional tour with the specific purpose of talking about this rule and how it may be enforced or how it may be modified. We've been feeding them a lot of information about a lot of the issues that are going on with the ELD, some of the inconsistencies, some of the problems with it, and trying to get them to understand agriculture's side of the issue. So we're working hard on that, but we will have them there. It'll be the Deputy Secretary, and it'll also be one of her assistants, Joe De Lorenzo, will be there to talk about this issue. And I'm encouraged by that, Mr. Haney, because if y'all recall, the turning point on the black vulture issue was when we had U.S. Fish and Wildlife at Congressional Tour, and they heard from you all. And I want to leave it with that. Folks, thank you all for what you do. Thank you for what you do. You've heard Lead Where You Stand a lot, and it really comes back to your leadership and how we move forward with these issues and how we promote these issues when these action requests come up as to how successful we are. We need each and every county engaged. I'd ask you to make sure your action alert committees or national alert committees, however you all have got them structured at the county, that you have a very active committee, that when we send, that we have their contact information, and then when we send those action alerts out, they take the action, they make the calls, they send the letters, they send the emails. We ask you to do that. That's how we make a difference. That's what makes the difference when we go and call on the offices in Washington, D.C. So with that, I will leave that to you unless anybody's got a real quick question. We may have just a minute, but not much. But if anybody's got a quick question on anything, I will be glad to try and answer it. Seeing none, thank you all so much, and stay engaged, folks, and we'll be getting you information on a regular basis. Thank you.